Hello beautiful and welcome back to my channel and welcome to this video where we are gonna do a first and a second impression with the new Zendo palette by Natasha Denona. I got it in the mail literally like 30 minutes ago, so we are gonna dig into this. I'm gonna do two looks, we're gonna do some swatches, and we're gonna see if this is the normal Natasha Denona quality, if it's worth picking up, and yeah, let's just dive in. And if you haven't been here before, hello, my name is Angie. I'm a lover of fashion and makeup, especially colorful things, especially dramatic makeup. So we are gonna try and see how like bold and fun we can make these looks. So if you want to see some more color on your timeline, if you want to see some more reviews, makeup looks, haul, makeup commentary, this is the place to be because I upload 5 videos a week. So I already have most of my face and like lipstick on. I will leave the details to everything that I'm wearing down in the description box in case you're interested. So we are just gonna do eye makeup. This palette is one of these smaller $65 palettes. It is a really fun, half neutral, half colorful palette with colorful shades that can go either bold or more muted, because you have these greens that are a bit more muted, so if you mix them with the browns, they're gonna look a bit more earthy and more grounded. And then you have these reds and pinks and peaches that if you mix them together and don't go in with the browns, they're gonna be probably pretty wild and pretty bold. But if you mix them with some of the neutrals, they're gonna be a bit more toned down and gonna appear more like warm neutrals. And I like that with most of the palettes from Natasha Denona, that there are colors in there that could go either bold or more grounded and neutral depending on what you're after. And I also can see just by looking at this that there's a beautiful duochrome here, so maybe I'll play with that in the first look. Ooh, is that my phone? Shh, no one asked you. So yeah, I'm very intrigued. I did get some questions if I could compare these to a couple of palettes that you thought were similar, so I thought I'd show you that. The first one is the Sunrise palette, and that is also from Natasha Denona, and there are some similarities, although this one goes more green, blue, and coral, and the other one goes a bit more of the yellow, orangey route. But there are some similarities, but I wouldn't say they're dupes, but they're definitely in somewhat of the same ballpark when it comes to some of those more reddish tones. The next one is the Nabla Secret palette, and maybe this is the palette that I would agree the most with, that they have a similar vibe to them, because they are both that like neutral but still colorful greens, pinks, like kind of a deal. And I'm not saying they're dupes because I don't think they're dupes, but they're definitely having the same vibe and the same color story to them. And this is a palette that I wouldn't have seen if you didn't point it out to me, but now that I've seen it, I can't like unsee it. I don't think they're dupes, but they're definitely a similar color story. Another one that I got a couple of requests for were actually the palette that I did with Kaleidos, which is the Club Nebula palette. And I see where you're coming from. They do have some similar shades, but I would say that the Zendo palette by Natasha Denona is more warmer and also a bit more grounded and not as like bright and saturated as the Club Nebula is. So this is like the more safe little sister maybe, and there are a couple of shades that are definitely not similar at all, like the browns here. There are no browns in the Club Nebula. I see where you're coming from, but I don't think that I would be able to create a single look with this palette that's like a dupe for the Club Nebula. I don't see that happening. I see where you're coming from, but I don't think that they're like really dupes. Maybe in like concept, but not really in execution. Let's put it like that. Like I said, this is one of these smaller $65 palettes. You can see that the Sunrise next to it, it has a very, it's a nice copper. I like, copper is my favorite metal when it comes to like the color of it. So it's the same size as Sunrise. It has that copper front, and if you compare it to one of the 129 palettes, you can see that they're like, it's a bit smaller and it's just a little bit, the pans are a bit smaller, and of course the price tag is a lot smaller. She did have the mini Zendo palette, which was a half neutral, half corally palette, and I kind of really like this palette. I gave this a good review. I thought this was a good quality release, so I was super intrigued to pick up this one. There are no, I wouldn't say, this is me just, I haven't used the Zendo palette yet, but I don't think that any of the shades in this mini palette can be found in this big palette. So I would say that these are more like complementary. They're definitely not dupes. I wouldn't be able to find any of these shades in here. No. I think that that dark brown here would be so nice together with this brown cream to powder in the corner here, because I think that those would make a really nice like brown smoky eye. And yeah, I just think that this is more of a complementary palette to this one. There are no like dupes in between. I don't know if you saw that in the swatches, but this one is a cream to powder. The green one here is a cream to powder, and the minty one here is a cream to powder. I will say though that her darker cream to powder are usually more creamy, and the more pastel cream to powder are usually not as creamy. But this is just Natasha Denona's way of making colors that can be hard to formulate be more easy to work with on their eyes and be more like fail proof even for beginners. So if you were craving a green eyeshadow, usually these cream to powders do work really good on the eyes. They're usually very easy to pack on and blend. They're my favorite formula from Natasha. Let's zoom in and I can do the first look. I'm so excited. Okay, I want to do something green, so I'm gonna play with these two matte greens here at the corner, and I think I might layer some of that duochrome at the end. So I'm starting with the shade Mantra, which is the dark green. I did use some of the eye primer by Natasha Denona. I still have the old packaging, and that is a cat hair. And this is a cream to powder. Wow. What a pretty color. Like I said, some of these shades that Natasha chooses to have as a cream to powder can be shades that can be a little bit hard to formulate to get them to be pigmented, non-patchy, and like not stain as well, because that's the thing with indie shadows. Sometimes it's like, yeah, it's very pigmented, but they like stain. But she usually chooses to do those a little bit more tricky shadows as a cream to powder. So some pastels have been cream to powder, and some of these more saturated, dark, colorful mattes as well. Because this will, and you can see that, look very matte on the eyes, and it will dry down, and these do not crease on me. I will say though, I do use a primer, and I do suggest using a primer if you actually want your eyeshadow to last. I really need to stop that sound. Shh. Nobody asked you. I think I'm gonna do some under my eye as well. And since this is a cream to powder, this one is very easy to get on even if you have powdered your under eyes. Okay, I'm using that lighter now, the one that's called Breath. This like more pistachio ice cream shade, and you can see I'm putting that on the edge, and I am gonna blend this out, and I'll fill in with more of the dark green afterwards. I just want to get the blend, so to speak, and I'm gonna take this lighter shade down here as well. Maybe I'll put the dark green on the entire lid and then just see how that like duochrome will look on top of it. You can see I'm just blending this edge out, and it's getting a lot lighter, but I will go in with more of the dark green. I just want this to look a bit blended. And since both of these are that cream to powder, they're very easy to blend. Feel like this is like making the look a bit more cool tone, and I definitely think that if I had gone in with like a brown transition shade instead and put this green on, this look would have been more like foresty green. Now I'm going back with the darker green, and I'm building back to get some of the darkness. Oh, and I'm gonna put it on my entire lid. So like I said, I can layer that duo. Oh, that is... what a nice smoky eye. Wow, I could definitely just leave it like this. This is so pretty. Okay, but I'm gonna take a little bit up here as well, just to deepen up this edge a bit and to bring back some of the dark green a bit higher up. So it's a little bit more like this. Love how this looks. That is so pretty. Wow, wow. This, just some mascara and you're done. Why don't we do I have some fallout? Not really. These cream to powders usually don't. This Yama is like a warm caramel to, it seems to have some goldish green reflects. You can see on the brush, it's pulling a little bit of that like warm shade. I'm just gonna put a little bit on We can see if we can get some of that green reflect out. Yeah, you definitely have that green reflect, and this definitely made the look go a little bit more warm again. Just doing this to try out some more shades, and I really like how that looks. It does really give a bit of a greenish sheen, and I didn't spray this or anything, I just putting it on the cream to powder. Yeah, it definitely makes it a bit warmer and does have a nice green reflect. That's very pretty. I don't know for me if there's anything that's like an inner corner highlight, so I think I'm gonna do this one, the green matte, the breath. I think I'm gonna do that. That's actually really pretty. So yeah, I think that is the first look. Let me fix this up and we can see how it looks. Okay, so that is the look. I adore this green look. I think this is so pretty. I had no problems working with any of these shades. They were the typical good Natasha Denona formula. That is what the Natasha Denona formula is for me. It is easy, fuss-free, reliable, good eyeshadows. I know what I'm getting. It is like not hard to work with. It is beautiful on the eyes, and I like how this looks a lot. Like, it's a really pretty, slightly cool tone green eye, and I am all about this look. You're gonna have to let me know what you think down below, but now let's get into my second impression, which is gonna be look number 2. I think we are gonna try, I wanna try this, is it Vigor or Vigor? Vigor or Vigor, I'm not 100% sure, but I kind of want to use the Mindful one as well, because I think that that red will really build on top of the Mindful that is a gel or a cream to powder to make it even darker. I think what I'm gonna do, maybe some blue on the lid, I think so. Let's just start with a little bit of the Calm first, just to have as a bit of a transition shade. I'm still trying out this brush set by BH Cosmetics. This is in Ruby. Oh, and like I said, everything will be linked down below, but I'm wearing one of the new lip liners by Natasha Denona because I did buy this one as well together with the palette. This is the I Need a New Lip Crayon in Noah. I do have the Noah lipstick, and this lip liner is as pretty as that. So let me see if we can work out some of the creases, and let's start with the Calm shade and just brush that a little bit into the crease because I want this to be a warm look. The other one was a little bit more cool, and I want this one to be a little bit more warm. I'm not putting a lot. You can see I'm not packing. I'm just blowing a bit through the crease to have something to blend that red into, and to make sure that this look is gonna lean warm because of this warm peach. Doesn't this just take you back to like the beauty community 2017 with all the peach smoothie and orange soda in the crease, and everyone had to start with a shade like that? Otherwise you were definitely not a true beauty guru, and what were you even doing with your life? I don't miss those days. I know some people look back at like beauty YouTube circa 2017, 2016, and they're like, I miss this. But I'm like, did we? There were so many rules of how you were supposed to do your makeup. Makeup was a bit heavy and clunky. We had those super Instagram brows, and even though I like a defined brow, that was crazy. Everything had to be full coverage. People were like literally doing a full coverage beat with like cream and powder contour to go to the grocery store. I don't miss that, and every palette had to have a shade like this. Otherwise, what were people gonna start a look with? I don't miss that. Okay, I'm putting that Vigor or Vigor, I'm not 100% sure, like I said. And I'm putting that in my crease, and I'm just wiggling my brush to really work it in because I want it to be as dramatic as possible, but I'm just beginning like this. I'm gonna take it down a little bit here, and then I'm gonna go in with that cream to powder, that brown one that I showed you, and I'm gonna take a little bit of that. Maybe I'll blow this out a little bit more. I'm gonna take a little bit of that in my outer corner and in my crease, And I'm gonna, let me see if I can show you. I'm taking a brush like this. This is a Luxe Eye Shading 213. You can see it's like a bit stubby, and I'm taking Mindful. It is the brown in the corner, this one. It is the darkest brown in the palette, and it is a cream to powder. So I'm doing this, and I'm basically just stamping it on in the outer V, and I'm also gonna build it a little bit into the crease. And then I'm gonna go over this shadow with the red to make this look even more red. Because this is a cream to powder, this is also a perfect foundation for some of the other shades to really make them stick or to really make them look saturated. And you can see there was no problem with me blending this into the powder shades that I had here on before, even though this is a cream to powder. And this is why I love this formula from Natasha Denona, because I think it's so versatile. And now I'm going back with the Vigor, I don't know. And you can see I'm just pushing that and like blending it into the cream to powder to make it more red and to make it even more saturated. And this has been something that I've been talking about before. If you want the shadow that you like deepen up with to still pull the color that your crease has, just go over the darker shadow with that crease color, in this instance the red, to make them go together, because now you can see there's definitely a depth here, but it does not look like the warm brown, right? It just looks like a dark red. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna do this Equilibrium, this one, and the Flow. I think I'm gonna do those on the lid, if I can find a brush. And I did spray this to make it more precise and to make it really opaque. And I'm putting this Equilibrium, the darker one, on the outer part of the lid and like in a bit of a wedge down here towards the inner corner. And let me see if I can do the same with the Flow shade, but just I have a little bit of a fold here, as you can see. That's why I tried to pull this down so that I get the shadow where I want it. This is the Flow shade, so we can get a little bit of a gradient. These are more like tealy grays than they are straight up blues. I don't think that these are like blues. I think they're more like steely grays. Or maybe that's just me and what I think is a blue, because I am so used to super bright colors as well. So maybe I should leave that to your judgment. But if you were looking for a bright teal, that's not what these are. I'm just gently brushing it up a little bit here so that we can have a bit of a fade. And I'm taking a little bit of the Vigor red shade and blending over. If you hear something, that is my dog, not my husband. What do I want to do for my lower lash line? Do I want to do something totally different, or do I want to stick with this? I think I'm gonna stick with this. I think I'm gonna take the Mindful, which is the brown, and I'm gonna put that on half the eyes, maybe a little bit more, maybe like 2/3, and then I'm gonna go over that with the red shadow, so it is that dark red. And then with a pencil brush, do I want to have the pink or the peach? This one, or the pink, or the peach. I think I'm gonna do the pink. I don't know if this is like an inner corner highlight shade for me. Ooh, maybe let's spray this so I don't get fallout, because I have powdered under my eyes. So let's see if we can get this to stick better, because yeah, powder. So just doing a little pop of pink there. I think that's really pretty. For me, there's nothing here really that can be an inner corner highlight except that breath that I used in the other look. But, ooh, why don't I use this matte shade in the mini? That is not the worst idea I've ever had. And I do have some questionable ideas from time to time. This is still like a peach, but this really goes with the look. I think that that is cute. So this is the matte shadow from the mini Zendo. Of course you can bring in whatever, but I kind of like how that looks. So yeah, that is basically gonna be the finished look. Let me finish this up. What kind of eyeliner do I want to have? Do I want to do a pop of teal to try and bring out the teal shades of this? Maybe I'll do that, and I'll come back and I'll show you the finished look, and we can just have a final chat about this first and second impression. Okay, so this is the finished look. I have everything on and my look is all done. And first of all, this is very fingerprinty, so if you think you're gonna keep this all shiny and clean, maybe if you keep it in a locked locker and you don't use it, but this will get very fingerprinty very fast, so do know that. I will say I am thoroughly impressed with both of these looks. I feel like they were bright, but not too bright. They're like colorful, but a little bit muted. They're like neutrals, but turned up a bit. So I like both of these looks. I love how like bright and red I was able to make this crease when I layered the cream shadow underneath, and I just really like how this looks. Is this a blue teal? No. This isn't very blue teal, especially not when you mix it with something that's not leaning a bit teal. I think that if you use these shades together, you probably get more of the teal shades out of it, but when you mix it with the warm tones, it's more like a steel gray, so keep that in mind. But so far, 2 looks in, I really enjoyed the palette. I had a lot of fun. I didn't hit any kind of nags doing this look or the other one. I think both of them turned out really good. I think I'm gonna do with this palette what I did with the Circle Local palette, which is that I'm gonna do another look on Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, there's gonna be a link down in the description box. There you can see some other looks I have, and of course flat lace and close-ups and whatever other thing I feel like posting on Instagram. But I do post some makeup looks here and there, and I will post a third look of the Zendo palette there. Now it's up to you to let me know what you think about this palette. Is this something that you're picking up? And if you do decide to pick it up, I will leave a link to where you can get it and some different like release dates throughout the world and stuff like that down below. Some of my links are affiliated, and when they are, they do have a little star behind them, meaning that that is an affiliated link. And if you shop through my affiliated links, thank you so much for supporting my channel. And if you're not, that's totally fine too. Just you being here is support enough. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you again tomorrow for a new video. Bye!